You're looking right now at live pictures from Los Angeles as we continue to monitor the standoff between law enforcement and protesters. Tonight, ICE releasing photos appearing to show National Guard troops surrounding immigration agents as the agents make arrests. We'll note the images do not show these troops making the arrest themselves, but they do appear to be guarding these ICE operations. Well, tonight, a spokeswoman for DHS saying, quote, "If any rioters attack ICE law enforcement officers, military personnel have the authority to temporarily detain them until law enforcement makes the arrest. The violence against ICE law enforcement must end." Joining me now, retired Brigadier General Steve Anderson. Tell me what you think about these images tonight of seeing even members of the military surrounding these ICE agents. What's your reaction?
Disgust. I mean, I really don't. We've politicized the military in ways that we should never do. I mean, the deployment of the troops there is illegal. It's going to be ineffective. These soldiers are not trained to do this kind of work. There's so many issues in regards to coordinating appropriate support for these soldiers down there. And I'm really concerned that you're going to have soldiers that get involved in policing actions, and we're going to have another Kent State moment. Where we, terribly killed some protesters, conducting peaceful protests. And the other concern I have, Laura, is that it's going to be incredibly costly. I mean, we've heard $134 million has been, where's that money going to come from? What are we going to do? How is that going to impact our readiness? We're going to pull troops out of what they do normally to prepare for war for 60 days. That's going to have a profound impact on readiness. And there's just so much to this. And by the way, our prestige as a nation is going to suffer greatly when we put troops. We look like a banana republic when we put troops on the ground suppressing peaceful protesters.
I want to break it down from some of the areas you talked about. The illegality, you said, the ineffectiveness of those who are not trained, the logistics, of course, prestige. Beginning with illegality, President Trump has not yet invoked the Insurrection Act, which means it would be an exception to having military enforce law on domestic soil, which is, we know, not what we want to have happen. But he is talking about from the perspective of these troops would be there to have a reinforcing function so that federal law could go into effect. Do you buy that argument? Is that enough of a reason to explain Marines, National Guard on the ground?
No, not at all. There's plenty of police down there. The Los Angeles Police is one of the largest and most capable police forces in the world. They do not need this help. This is just a show of force by President Trump. And I believe that what he's doing is actually fanning the flames of discontent. These troops are not going to be there as a deterrent. They're actually a stimulant to more protests, I believe. That's what's going to come out of this. And in fact, perhaps that's his playbook. That's what he wants. He wants an excuse, perhaps, to leverage the Insurrection Act. And that would be, if we have continual protests like this throughout the United States and in Los Angeles, that might very well be an effect from this.
And really quick, we heard from Secretary Kristi Noem that she asked the Pentagon to have troops arrest protesters. DHS later clarified that the request was made before Noem and Hegseth met with President Trump. Would Marines or National Guard, should they have any authority, or would they just be a supplemental reinforcement?
They would be there to protect federal property, okay, but they do not have the authority to make any kind of arrest. So this would be a total misuse of the military to do this. We are not policemen. We are soldiers. We are trained to fight and defend the United States against foreign adversaries and fight wars. We do not fight a war against civilian population. It would be a terrible, terrible thing for the United States to use our military to enforce, to suppress peaceful protests in this country.
How do you think the military reacts to their being deployed this way?
I think it's a tremendous morale issue for these guys. I mean, they did not sign up to quell protests. They do not. Soldiers do not want to be involved in conducting police operations, and this is taken away from what they enlisted or joined the Army to do. They want to train, they want to make themselves better, they want to be prepared to defend this country. They do not want to conduct police actions in Los Angeles area or anywhere else for that matter. That's not what soldiers do.
General Steve Anderson, you would know best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.